Welcome back to the Pierce Dispatch. Today I'm joined by PIO and engineer Chris Naff from St. Johns County Fire Rescue in Florida. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And so today we're going to be talking a little bit about the response readiness of your department. Mm-hmm. And as a PIO, you get to talk about this quite a bit.
Quite often.
So you're going to be very valuable and qualified to speak on this topic for us. So talk to me a little bit about what St. Johns County Fire Rescue is like.
Yeah, so we are a 500-plus personnel department in Northeast Florida, so we're the county just south of Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. Run about 68,000 calls a year with Marine Rescue as part of that as well. Been around for only about 28 years as a fire rescue department, so we're still pretty young in our department stuff. Mm-hmm. Just a very busy, growing Northeast Florida department. We have a lot of suburbia that comes in, and, a lot of people were kind of the bedroom community for Jacksonville. So number one schools in the state. So everybody wants to move there. Well,
and with such a diverse county, I mean, I looked at a map before we pulled up and started filming. Having the water, there's like nature preserves and suburbia you were talking about. How does your department balance that?
Yeah, so very diverse department.
Yeah.
We do have a Marine Rescue Division that covers the coastline. We're on the Atlantic Ocean, but we also are bordered by the St. Johns River on the west side, so we have a Marine Rescue component in there. We go anywhere from farmlands to we have the nation's oldest city that we surround. They have their own fire department, St. Augustine Fire Department, but we provide mutual aid with them and automatic aid. So nation's oldest city, been around a really, really, really long time, so they don't want anything to catch fire down there. So we have that. And then, like I said, we're suburbia. We also cover 95. Interstate 95 comes through, and, there's some serious wrecks that happen on that road. So, we have to be well-versed. We have to be trained across the board, which I'm sure we're going to get to with some of those questions. Mm-hmm. And our fire apparatus design, kind of while we're here at Pierce, is important, right? It's important for us to have the right design trucks and apparatus to respond to these types of calls.
Mm-hmm. And for our listeners who may not know, you're in picking up a tower this week?
Yeah, we are. We're picking up a mid-mount 100-foot tower, which is our first true truck company that doesn't have pump, hose, and water. We've been a very big Quint type truck company department, and this is the first one. And kind of the main reason for that is we wanted clarity of purpose for our guys. We don't want you to guess when you pull up to a fire scene, am I pulling a hose line, or am I going to do search, or am I doing a truck company function, or am I doing this? So, like, you're on this truck, we're kind of taking that away. And obviously there'll be a couple weeks we're coming back up, and we're picking up the engine too. So there'll be an engine company with it. It's actually going to one of our brand new stations that's opening in January.
Wow, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
So,
it's been good.
Yeah, so let's talk about what it looks like in each region of your county. I think that would make the most sense to break it down. What does a day in the life in each region look like?
Northeast part of our county is Ponte Vedra Beach, which is home, if you're a golf fan, home to the Players Championship. A lot of very, very big houses, oceanfront houses, 10, 12,000, upwards, even more than that, houses. So a lot of money, a lot of, business with PGA Tour's headquarters is there. So, lot of that. West part of the county is definitely suburbia. It's houses, single-family homes, not a ton of commercial. Southwest part of the county is all farmland. It was the potato capital of Florida, Hastings was. So there's a lot of undeveloped open land there, which I'm sure if we wait a couple years, they're going to be developed as well. And then Southeast is kind of like the beach community. They have a pier. Everybody's surfing, everybody's skateboarding, but we do have condos on the beach. A lot of that kind of building construction. So also big houses as well. But then Central is kind of like interstate stuff. You got your typical like outlets and all that.
So when you're preparing to be response ready for all these different areas, what considerations do you make for staffing and stations and apparatus?
Yeah, so I kind of look at it like a little triangle. We have our personnel, we have our equipment, and then we have our training. And they kind of all interact with each other. Obviously we're here at Pierce, so we're talking equipment, but the other parts go together because without the other parts, we don't. So we're very diverse in what we just kind of went over our geographic area, but our training has to be just as equal. We have people that could be, one of our stations is literally right across the street from the ocean. So obviously they have to be well versed in marine rescue training. And then we have, some that are, button up next to each other that just are busier stations, and they have stations that come together real quickly on fires or emergencies, where the ones in the southwest part of the county, they're kind of by themselves. They're a little bit of John Wayne for 10, 15 minutes before another truck comes in or another engine comes in. We focus a lot on training. Day in the life is just a normal, we're a 24/48 department right now, 0800 shift change, like the general, like what is across the, the country. So you come in, you check trucks off, you do the normal training. We're getting ready to break ground here. We have the land purchase for a regional training facility, so we're excited about that, to kind of up our next level of training to get it a little bit more, more value in the central part, and we can bring everybody down.
I don't know what it looks like at your department, and maybe you can share more about it, but if firefighters are going to different stations to fill in for shifts, do they need to be trained in different areas?
Yeah, so we try to, kind of with that clarity of purpose that we were doing with the ladder truck that we're here, we've standardized our fleet a little bit, and we still have some trucks that are still kind of lingering in, but when you go to a station that's in Ponte Vedra or in the northeast part of the county, the same engine will be in the southwest part of the county. So the hose lines are the same, the hose and nozzles, everything that's on the engines are the same. So we're trying to standardize that as much as possible. All of kind of our squads and that kind of stuff is all trying to be pretty standardized. So, because with a department that big, you're going to be moving around. People take overtime, people call out sick, so they move people around to fill them. So that's important to kind of have that standardization so you know what you're getting. You're not just randomly picking stuff off a truck and you're like, I don't know where it goes.
Certainly. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. And about other departments surrounding you, do you have automatic aid, mutual aid with them?
We do. So obviously our big brother to the north is Jacksonville. Everybody's kind of familiar with that. Go Jags. But, that's kind of big brother. And we've always kind of like looked up to them, and we've always been like the little brother. But it's crazy to see over the last couple of years as they've kind of taken a look at what we're doing, not just design of apparatus equipment, but also training. And they've come down, and we do a lot of mutual aid training with them. Obviously the response is the same. We have an automatic agreement with all the counties that are around us if they need us. But having them come down and train with us, and hey, what are they doing? Like, we've changed our engine specs completely to have everything come off the back of the truck or back of the engine. For a reason. We want our guys pulling past the house, not pulling up next to the house and looking at the window or the door and go, I'm going to put the cross lay right here. So, like, they're starting to look at stuff like that as well, and they go, oh, that's good purpose. Like, this is setting up. We're trying to make it easier for our guys to just be muscle memory and go out. So, all the way down to what we're doing for our new hire training is also something they've come down and looked at a lot. So, good working relationship. Obviously, we encompass the City of St. Augustine Fire Department. There are 2 stations. I think there are about 30 personnel. So we work very closely with them. We provide all their medical. So we are a transport ALS department, and we do all their transport. They're just fire only. They go on their medical calls and that type of things. But, big fires, medical calls and stuff, we're running in them. So we run with them a lot. And then the counties that kind of border us, we run if they need us. But we do have a regional hazmat team that responds out of the area. And then we also are our large animal rescue. So horses, cows, whatever that's larger than the normal house, cat and dog, they can call us to the region all the way up to pretty much Georgia we can go up to. So it's kind of something unique. The state's kind of broken into regions for that. So we have all the specialized equipment.
Very niche responses you're describing.
Yeah, but we get probably a couple calls a month because, some of the, not suburban areas that have horses, cows, they fall down, can't get back up, or they're getting old. We've had them in pools. We've had them in ditches, ponds that can't get out. So, that's a very niche training that, like you said, you have to really focus on. That's what our USAR team kind of focuses on a lot.
Yeah, certainly. And for those new recruits, can you tell me about what you do to put them through the paces and get experience?
Absolutely. I can talk a pretty good amount about that. That's why I said I don't know how much time we have, but I can fill the rest of the day up if we want to. So in Florida, and I don't know, every state's different, but in Florida you have to go through basic fire school and basic EMT, and you pay on your own. It goes to a community college, and then you come in and apply to a department, and then we put you through an 8-week recruit program that goes over engine company functions, truck company functions, squad. We have an air pack class. Physical fitness, obviously, is super important. Medical week, we're very advanced in our medical. I mean, I know we're kind of talking fire trucks here, but like our medicine is top notch. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not a medicine guy, so don't quote me on any of that stuff. But yeah, so like they come in, they do their 8 weeks, and then they get a station assignment, and then they're out. And then we do training annually and quarterly, station level training as well. But one thing our department does focus on is we're not like this is the way we do it, and we focus on that. But we tend to send a lot of people out to different classes across the country. So if you want to go to FDIC, you want to go to Orlando Fire Conference, or FDTN, any of these big things, you put in a little form, and 99% of the chances they're going to pay for you to go there, probably pay for your hotel room. So like we brought all those things back and basically made a recruit class out of it, but also train our guys, and that's how we do the company level training.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What an opportunity for your recruits and firefighters across the board. I'm sure even the more veteran firefighters are able to do certain opportunities.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's lean into more of the equipment.
Okay.
And I know you had talked about how the towers, introducing more of a standardized, dedicated unit for your operations. Can you talk about what role equipment in general at your department is keeping you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of that clarity of purpose, I kind of keep going back to that. But, when you get up on a scene, we just recently rolled out a new predetermined arrival assignments. So as you're the first due engine company or the first due truck company, you know exactly, or we're calling them service units because we do have transport rescue units. But you know exactly what you're bringing, you know exactly what you're doing as you're arriving. So if you're first due, second due, third due, so that kind of cleared that aspect of things up. We were a department that, came from an old EMS department back since, like I said, 98 and before we were EMS. So you can imagine the change to a fire department, fire and EMS in 98 to now, we had some of the oldest equipment out there, like stuff that just didn't even work. And, we're slowly, actually, we've pretty much gotten rid of it all, but like changing Halligan bars and changing, like all that small stuff, the stuff that works and doesn't break. And recommendations from the guys. We always take stuff from the guys in the field that, they'll go to these classes that we send them to and go, hey, we saw this new piece of equipment, or we saw this new design on a fire truck. Obviously coming here, you get way overloaded with designs, but that, that helps bring it back, and then we just make a tweak to the next design. So.
Being here at Pierce, I'm sure you see lots of different designs. Is there any notable designs that you've been adding in? I know you'd mentioned about how you pull past the scene and everything's taken off the rear of an engine.
Low hose beds seems to be the design of life now. That's something we subscribe to as well, because ergonomics is important now. Injuries, stepping off of rigs, and grabbing hose lines off the back of the truck. You don't want to climb up 4 stairs to go grab a hose line off the back of the truck. But, it makes it easier for us to do our job. And if that's what the guys give us feedback on, that's what we're going to do. And I think the low hose beds are definitely, they were really old, and then they disappeared, and now it's like they're coming back. So it seems like most of the trucks I've been looking around out there has been like low hose beds. Mm-hmm. So
certainly. And future looking for long-term planning, can you lean us into what kinds of ideas and concepts, in addition to the low hose bed, you're doing?
Yeah, as far as apparatus spec, we've pretty much dialed in pretty good on the engine design that we feel. We have an interesting squad concept because they are engines too. So we're trying to tweak some of that stuff right now and kind of get different ideas. Obviously, this truck company that we're looking at now is completely new for us, with no pump, no water, no hose, and we're like, what's all this space? Like, what are we going to put here? So that's exciting for us. So we're going to be able to tweak that moving forward as well. And then eventually we're going to get into, tractor drawn aerials that we're going to have. Is kind of the next concept that we're getting into, because some of these residential houses and neighborhoods they're too tight to turn. So you can't 40-foot trucks not turning like a like an aerial would with a tiller. So so that's kind of some concepts that are next few years coming down the road. Maybe eventually a heavy duty rescue, because like I said, 95 we do some hellacious crashes on 95. So that's where most of our squad companies will line up. North part of the county, central and south part of the county. So a lot of extrication equipment, heavy rescue stuff.
And forward looking for training and personnel on your department.
Yeah, so we're currently building 2 stations that are in some type of build. We have a third one that'll probably break ground in January, February, and then depending on some tax voting things that are going on in Florida, we might have a 4th station starting in a couple years. So we're looking to hire. We're actually probably by the time this podcast is going to come out, we're already hired probably about another 30 to 40 people starting in January. Awesome. So we're always rocking and rolling. The area, Florida as a whole has kind of a lean amount of firefighters, which I know sounds crazy, but we had kind of an influx in COVID because everybody wanted to do what we were doing because we were job secure. And then everybody's kind of left and gone and done different things. So, so always hiring. We're getting ready to hit retirement for a lot of, because we went through a big boom in 98 to 2007. So now I'm getting ready to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. So, we're going to have that hiring constantly. And then staffing up the rigs, putting more apparatus on, making sure we're doing that and kind of keeping a look down the future. And this county's always growing. It's crazy. We'll drive down a road and there's a whole new neighborhood the next day, and where did that even come from? So,
certainly.
But yeah.
Sounds like you continuously need to review and survey your county too.
Yeah, we have we have committees and stuff for that, but we also lean on a lot of other county departments like the building department, and we kind of work really hand in hand with the growth manager. They have a growth management department. We do have a lot of snowbirds that come down and move in or just buy houses for the winter. So we have a lot of big neighborhoods. We have a community called Nocatee that is just exploding. They're golf carts, e-bikes. They're all over the place. It's you can drive your golf cart wherever you want. That's the sell of the community, is you can get everywhere in a golf cart. You go to school, drop your kids off, which brings a whole nother podcast probably scenario to you. But it's just growing so much. We put on, I don't even know how many schools they've grown. I think there's like 40 some schools they've put on, and it's being the number 1 school system in the state, everybody wants to move there. So always growing, never stopping. It doesn't seem like it's letting up anytime soon. So,
for departments looking for advice to enhance their response readiness, what do you have to share?
I think some words of advice are stick with it, because you have some guys, like I started out and we had a group of guys that wanted to change something and change kind of a course of how we were doing things, and you get beat down a little bit naturally, and you want it to happen overnight, and it just doesn't. So, changing the way you're doing things, think about it logically, think outside the box a little bit, think about how you're doing things too when you're getting off rigs and where you put your equipment, because it does matter. You don't want to make 4 extra steps around a truck when you can just grab it when you get out. So I think, looking at that, don't give up. Kind of, I know it's like the hurrah, like coach speech, right? But it's true. Like we've all had our days where we're done, right? Like I'm done with this, but keep at it. Change. You can't steer the ship like immediately. You have to. It's going to take some time. So have your vision, plan it out. Go 5 years, 6 months. Have those plans and try to make some benchmarks.
Certainly, and together you can get it done.
Yep, exactly. Yep, as a group, get the good guys together and go at it.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. This has been great. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.